Hey everybody, Weem here. I've got Storybricks in front of me and I thought I would kind of share this with you, kind of fill you in on what it's about and see if you might want to check it out. This is a very new game, very early in development. It's got a Kickstarter going, it's in closed alpha, and I'm going to be showing you the open alpha only because I don't yet have access to closed alpha. Hopefully I can get in there and check that out because apparently there's some more things behind the scenes. But essentially, what this game is about is, or I guess I should say initially what this tool is about. This tool is about creating NPCs, and not just creating NPCs, but these characters who have their own motivations and behaviors and emotions. And not only that, but you can build elements in that allow for players or even other NPCs to have a meaningful impact on those elements. So you can make somebody who's kind of always upset and very angry, but you can build in ways to kind of change that behavior and make them, be happier, or just kind of tweak those kind of things by setting up certain scenarios that can play out, either to be done by the player or by another NPC, like I said. So this is all probably pretty confusing. A game where you make NPCs, what does that mean? So this game does have a world right now, a large world that you can put NPCs down in, and then you can kind of snap into a play mode and go around and interact with them. That's kind of where they're at right now. When they release, there will be this world they're calling the Kingdom of Default. It's going to be a pretty generic setting, but the goal is down the road to allow you to build your own worlds. And I was talking with Brian Green, one of the developers, last night, and he said that, and we don't want to hold him to it because it's early, but he said that there will likely be a tool set that works, like tiles, as far as placing down and building your worlds using kind of a tile system. You may think of the first Neverwinter Nights. But anyway, all of this is probably very confusing without seeing it, so we're just going to jump in here and get started. Now, I've got a couple of these stories, they call them, started, and I went to make a new one actually a little bit ago, and it wouldn't let me, so I guess you're limited to 3. So we're just going to go ahead and edit one of them. We'll just edit this last one I did. So we're going to fly into this now. You're going to see this, and let me hide that so it's not so confusing just yet. This is the Kingdom of Default. I've got an NPC down already. I'm actually hovering over the start area where the player spawns in. So as you can see, we can fly around here. You can't interact with the buildings or anything yet. Nothing like that. But it's all here just kind of as a setting, a kind of backdrop for playing around with these NPCs. There's various areas, and you can have the NPCs, as far as I can tell, you can have them move between different scenes and even interact with those scenes. So I've already got the craftsman down, so I'm going to go ahead and click him and show you his Storybricks. So I'm just going to click this here, and you'll see that I've got this element here that says when the story begins. So essentially, I'm going to actually get rid of that, and I'm going to start over so I can kind of explain this to you. Essentially, you kind of have these elements to your world, right? So every time something happens, the first time something happens, or when the story begins. So when the story begins is going to have a lot of stuff, as far as I can tell, that will just kind of always be on in the world. So we're going to start there. We clicked it and it brought it over. So this is going to work very much like puzzle pieces, right? You're going to snap things together, and it's very kind of has this logical progression, and I'm going to show you that here, how simple this is. So when I mouse over the subject here, so when the story begins, I've got a subject, and we'll click it. Now I've got the craftsman, who's this guy that I put down. You can see him. His name is Cotton. So I have him to choose from, I have the player to choose from, and then I have the storyteller. Now, if the more NPCs you have, they would be listed in here so you can interact with them and kind of set them up. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on this NPC Cotton here. So we're going to click him because we have the subject highlighted. So left click, that's going to go there. So when the story begins, Cotton, and then we can choose from these here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to give him something. So we're going to say that he owns. So we're going to click that. And now it's giving us more options here. So we're going to say that he owns a password. So when the story begins, Cotton owns a password. Now, once we've got that, we can continue to add stuff. And some of these, as you'll see, can actually snap in with other things. They kind of are connected. So he owns a password, but let's say that we want to be able to trade with him for it, or that he will only give that password up for something else specific. So we're going to go ahead, and we've got another definition here. We'll click that. So he owns a password, and now let's say that he'll trade the password. So we need to click password again. So you can see how this goes, right? The craftsman owns a password. He trades the password for, and we're going to pick an apple. So if somebody walks up to him and interacts with him and gives him an apple, he will give them a password. Okay? So we'll leave that at that. We're going to keep this really simple here. Now we need to have the player. We need to give the player an item, right? In fact, we're going to give him an apple. So we need a new subject. So we're going to click the subject. We're going to click the player. And then we're going to give him something he owns. And then we're going to give him an apple. So when the story begins, the player owns an apple. You can see how simple this is, right? So in that way, you can even do it again. You can click here and say owns a wand. So the player now owns two things. So in their inventory, they will have these, right? So let's go ahead and play this. Want to keep this really simple, just kind of give you, like I said, a quick idea of what this is about, and let you guys, if you're interested, come in here and play with it. So we have an NPC with a password, and we're giving ourselves an apple, and he's looking to trade. So let's go ahead and exit the editor. We're going to pick a story to play, and I believe that was my ZZZ game. So that's here. So we're going to begin. This is going to drop us in as a player now. So as you can see, you can walk around. In fact, you walk very slowly, which is why I put the NPC close. And down bottom right, you'll see my inventory has an apple and a wand. Now we walk up and we can left click this guy, and you can see the options. You can greet him. I'll go ahead and greet. So you do your wave. Now sometimes they're not friendly. That's something you can choose, that they're not friendly, and they'll wave their hand dismissively at you. But so that's your options here. We can greet, we can offer help, we can talk with him, we can request help, and finally we can give him something. So let's go ahead and we click give. It shows the two items that we've started with, an apple and a wand. Now we know he'll trade the password for an apple. Let's give him a wand. He says he has no need for the wand. Okay, that's fine. So we'll click him again. We're going to give him an apple this time. Now you can see Cotton trades a password for an apple with player. And you can see we now have a password and a wand. So anyway, that's the really quick rundown. There are a lot of possibilities with these story bricks, and for me anyway, the idea of creating an entire world full of these NPCs walking around, interacting with each other, it's a really cool idea. Just imagining setting up a server, grabbing 3, 4, 5 people, saying, "Hey, let's build this world," and just going in and going nuts, and having a lot of people come in and play, and even getting to explore other people's worlds and other people's stories, because you can share these, these kind of builds with anyone. There's a lot of possibilities here. It's looking very interesting right now, and again, this is closed alpha. This is very, very early. They have a Kickstarter that's only about a week old. So anyway, give that a shot. Give it a look. If it looks interesting to you, you can check it out at Storybricks.com. I'll also have a link in the description for it, and I'll have a link to their Kickstarter too in case you're interested in checking that out. It's kind of cool. If you kind of fund in, I think on the 2nd or 3rd level, you can get some early access to the game, and I want to say like November-ish or so. But yeah, they got some other cool options in there as well. Check it out if you get a chance. I'll have a link in the description, but you can also just head right to Storybricks.com, and you can get to messing around with it right now. Open alpha, like I said, you can create stories and go in and play around with them, and you can check out other people's stories as well. They got a big list of people's creations there. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for stopping in. We will catch you guys later.